Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Player Zone YouTube channel. Welcome back to Premier League predictions. We're somehow back here again, a day after the last match week finishes. We're on to the next one. Tomorrow we're back with more Premier League action, another weekend's worth of Premier League action, and what a weekend we've got in store for you guys. Obviously, Nottingham Forest, can they back it up against bottom side Southampton? How do Manchester United go when they host Brighton Hove Albion as well? And can Newcastle and Alexander Isak extend their incredible streak? A lot of good games to come from this weekend's action. Looking back to the midweek action, did all right in terms of our prediction points, added 11. So it takes our total from 132 to 143 now. If you're somehow new to the channel all the way in match week 22 and you're wondering how our point system works, there's 3 points for the correct scoreline, 1 point for the correct result predicted, obviously 0 points for neither, and the goal this year is 250 points. So looking at this moment on track, which I'm really happy about. With that being said, guys, we'll cut it short. Let's get straight into our Premier League predictions now. The first game, the early Saturday kickoff, is probably the game of the weekend for me. Newcastle United take on Bournemouth at St James's Park. It's going to be bouncing there. Newcastle looking to extend their streak now to 10 wins in a row. They're currently at 9 wins in a row after the 3-0 dominant win against Wolves midweek. They've got it down pat right now. 12 goals in the last 5 games. Alexander Isak scored in 8 consecutive games as well. It's all just clicking right now. Build off the midfield areas. But most important, I think the difference maker in this game is that front line there. Anthony Gordon, Alexander Isak right now are back to that almost telepathic link up in the final third, joined by Jacob Murphy in there. It's just a fantastic front line that, yes, Bournemouth have been good in recent weeks defensively, but I don't think they can stop this front line in the form they're currently in. Compare that to what Bournemouth are going. They're also in equally good form. A 2-2 draw away at Chelsea. Difficult in the end. They actually only picked up a point because they were due to win that game 2 goals to 1. A late Reece James free kick overturns that result for them. But they've been equally good themselves. It's 10 games unbeaten for them, proving they can play without a striker in the last game. Dango Utara down the middle. Antoine Semenyo supplying from the wide areas as well. They've equally got a threat, but I think the difference being in this game, as much as I love Hoytson and I love Zabani as well, it's a younger defensive duo compared to the Newcastle back four. They're more experienced. They've got some veteran leaders in there, Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Sven Botmans, these types of players that have been around the place. They know how to win games of football. Hall and Livramento in fantastic touch this current point in time as well. I just simply think both front lines are in fantastic form. Newcastle's slightly better. Both back fours have been fantastic, but Newcastle's a slightly more experienced. You chuck in that with it being at St James's Park, I think Newcastle win this game of football. Keep in mind that the counter-attack could be the way that Bournemouth win this game of football. Che Adams alongside Cook in there as the robust midfielders could win the ball back and send Semenyo and Uchara in behind to maybe nick a goal on the counter-attack and maybe Bournemouth just defend that lead. But I can't see them keeping out Newcastle for 90 minutes. With that being said, I've got Newcastle winning this game. 3 goals to 1 here for me. I think Isak continues his goal-scoring streak. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Anthony Gordon goal in there as well. We head back down south to London for our next game and to the G-Tech as Brentford take on Liverpool. Another massive game here for Brentford at home. That famous home record that we've talked about all season long. It's, I guess, gave it a bit more quality and a bit more credibility on the weekend. A 2-2 draw, a comeback, crazy comeback versus Man City to pick up a point once more. It ended a little dodgy streak at home and they hadn't won in their last 3 previous Premier League home games, but they got that point, an important point for them, and 2 more goals at home. And I feel like it'll be a confidence booster going to this game here versus Liverpool, whose backline isn't as rock solid as it was at the start of the season. In Burmo, Visser, potentially even Sharda, getting in behind on the break, on the counter-attack, Mikkel Damsgaard potentially as well. That's your threat if you're Brentford. Try and hold on as long as you possibly can. Needing Lewis Potter and Verslev in the wide fullback regions to shut down the likes of Mohamed Salah, Cody Gakpo, and then ride your luck. If you can keep Liverpool at bay for long enough periods of time and you get a few breaks like how Nottingham Forest did, if you can be clinical in one of your breaks, you can nick a goal, and that can be your basis, your foundation to defend for the rest of the game. Because Liverpool, this first 10 to 12 games, you couldn't score past them, or you couldn't see an avenue to go and score past this side. They had 7 clean sheets so early in the season, but ever since then, they've been leaking a few goals, a few mistakes, looking a little bit more vulnerable, and teams are able to get at them. So looking, if you're a Brentford point of view, you've got to try and nick a goal early. Similar to Nottingham Forest, that is the blueprint. Nick a goal early, sit in for the rest of the game, and just ride your luck. And you've got a decent enough back line there as well to potentially hold on and make the most out of this game here. Looking at Liverpool, they only won 2 of their last 5 games in all competitions. I think consistency is the key word for me. When Liverpool are at their best under Arne Slot, it's a consistent, cool, calm, composed performance. I use those C words a lot, but that's what Arne Slot's all about, this Liverpool side. It was a 1-1 draw versus Forest. Arne Slot looked a little bit rattled. Mohamed Salah missing some chances, and it took the 2 substitutes, Tsimikas and Jota, to save the day in the end for Liverpool, because they just felt like they couldn't find the back of the net in that game there. And that's been a common trend across the last few games for Liverpool. With their backline, leaking a few goals, you're starting from being behind. They've come behind so many different opportunities. They need to fix that up. Score the first goal in the game, get on the front foot, and good things will flow from there. I think as such, Konate has to be much more improved. For me, he's one of the litmus tests, I guess, if you want, for Liverpool. When he's at his best alongside Van Dijk, they are impenetrable, impregnable at the back. They are so solid. But when he's slightly off his game, Liverpool look a little bit weaker. Same as Andy Robertson. They look a little bit more vulnerable. Teams can get at them. They can score the first goal and then sit back and defend versus Liverpool. Liverpool want a high-paced game. They want to be able to get the runners in behind, stretch this Brentford side. And I think they need a more clinical edge in the final third. Gakpo, Salah, Diaz need to be much better than they were last time out if they want to get a positive result here. With that being said, I think it's going to be another real classic hit, the G-Tech. I've gone Liverpool just edging it, 2-1 for me. They concede first, but they make a dramatic comeback late. Our next game sees Leicester host Fulham, which is another key game for both these sides here. Leicester, off the back of another loss, continuing their downward spiral with a 2-0 loss at home to Crystal Palace last time out. It is now a 16-game run without a clean sheet. I'll keep saying until they finally get a clean sheet, but they are struggling right now defensively, leaking some weak goals, unable to win games if you aren't able to keep sides out at this current point in time. Yes, they're at home. Yes, they looked a little bit stronger at home, but they've been far from their best for a long period of time here. I think in this one here, Winks, Samares, those deeper line midfielders have to be really, really solid. You like Emil Smith-Rowe, Alex Iwobi, Wilson there as well, potentially Pereira. These are very dangerous players for Fulham. Their forward progressive midfielders are some of the best in the Premier League, and if Samari and Winks can't do enough to cover off or be safe enough in possession, Fulham will overrun the area of the park just outside their final third, and that's where the game could be won or lost for me. So Leicester need to be much better in that area of the park. Looking positively for them on the front foot. I think Mavididi is your guy. El Cano's had a few moments. Same as what I'd say, but Mavididi looks like the most consistent performer up there in the wide spaces. Fulham like to commit the fullback, so they like to overlap in wide areas. Can you get at them on the break, or can you get the ball to Mavididi and let him skip past a defender or two? He is going up against one of the best left-backs in world football right now, Anthony Robertson, but he will have to have a good game if Leicester want any sort of avenue to win this game of football for me. And big gain for Justin and Christensen as well. Massive accountability for them to stop the wide players for Fulham and also keep accountable of the fullbacks that will push on as well. So massive gains for those two Leicester fullbacks. Looking at Fulham, difficult 3-2 loss away from home against Potter's West Ham. Again, it's one of those games, just a tough time to go and play West Ham. New manager bounce, Paqueta performing. So it's not the worst result for them. Alex Iwobi did stand out for me, and it was that left-hand side. Iwobi and Anthony Robertson. 2 assists for Robertson, 2 goals for Iwobi. They are the players for this side. They continue to be consistent this season and look so dangerous down that channel there. So look to those two to stand up. Look to those two to be the difference maker in terms of their individual ability, their skill, and the ability to break down a very vulnerable Leicester back line. And I want Bassi and Anderson to be much better. They haven't got a clean sheet in their last 5 matches in the Premier League, so look to those two to be much more solid, because when Fulham are solid at the back foundationally, all good things flow on from there as well. Fulham have not lost the last 3 games against Leicester City, and I can see that continuing here. I think they cruise it in the end. I've gone with a Fulham 3-1 win. Leicester just don't have the defensive acumen to keep Fulham out, and I can't see them having much of a sharp enough edge to get in behind this Fulham back line. We have an all-London matchup in our next one. West Ham take on Crystal Palace. 2 teams whose fortunes are potentially going in a different direction, a more positive direction. Looking at West Ham under Potter, 2 games so far, 2 real positive performances. They come off the back of that 3-2 win versus Fulham. Goals getting back into the side's game. I think it was only 5 goals in their last 5 games. 3 of them coming in the last game versus a really good Fulham side. So it's positive signs here for West Ham. Another game at home in front of the London Stadium. But it's going to be key. That goals part of their game, it's going to have to be really, really important yet again in this one here. They go up against a very solid defensive Crystal Palace side. So Lucas Paquetá, Mohamed Kudus have to be smart yet again, have to really challenge this back three for Crystal Palace, plus those wing backs as well, because they've been one of the most tough to beat sides in recent weeks. You look at the last 10 games, Crystal Palace, they've been on a great run of form, hard to beat, robust at the back, challenging in transition. So West Ham have to be at their best, and Potter will want them to drive the ball forward. They'll want to be progressive, look forward first, and sort of pin Crystal Palace in. So Paquetá, Kudus, those key players. Also, Alvarez and Rodriguez have to be important as those two deeper line midfielders in terms of preventing the transition. Crystal Palace love to play deep and then hit teams in the break with their wide players getting in behind, using their pace up top. So Alvarez alongside Guido Rodriguez, big role to cover off and protect that back four, especially with the Crystal Palace pace they've got on their side. Looking at Palace fine form, once again, 2-0 win away at Leicester. Mateta on the score sheet, 5 games without a loss. I think it's 9 games unbeaten in their last 10. So fantastic little run of form here, and it's come at the right time of the season, pushing himself towards the middle of the table and away from that relegation zone. And it's simply put off some great away form. 3 wins, 2 draws in the last 5 away games. They've mastered that style of football, which is sit in deep, absorb pressure, hit teams on the break. That's when Palace look at their absolute tip-top best, and it's coincided with Ismail Assar, Jean-Philippe Mateta, and Eberechi Eze just finding consistency and connection in that final third. That little triangle up top is the key for them. If they're functioning yet again, if they're pinging the ball side to side, one-touch football, hitting teams in the break, they can beat any side at any stadium in the Premier League. So they're going to be important yet again. But for me in this game is that back three. It's going to be a little bit off-centre, a bit lopsided with now Chalobah going back to Chelsea. They're going to have to work that out at the back there. But Marc Guéhi, the captain, and Maxime Lacroix have been fantastic this season. Those two, alongside the new centre-back and that back, they're going to be very, very solid to prevent this more progressive attacking West Ham side. With that being said, it seems to be a clash of two sort of evils. A really, really solid defensive Crystal Palace and a weaker attacking West Ham side. So I'm seeing a draw, and I'm seeing a lacking entertaining type draw. I've gone with a 1-1 draw in this game here. West Ham continue to improve in terms of their performances, but unable to beat this Crystal Palace side. We stay in London as the Gunners take on Aston Villa in our next game here. Massive game for both these sides. Arsenal to keep in touch with Liverpool, and Aston Villa to keep in touch with that top four there and turn their fortunes around. Looking at Arsenal off to the back of that 2-1 win against Spurs in the North London derby, that's a momentum booster. That gets you fired up. That gets your momentum flying into the next game. They want to take over that momentum into this one here because it's been a really stop-start type month for them, end of December into the start of this new year. They'll want that attacking football, that spark, that drive, which they had in key patches versus Spurs to continue. And it sort of coincided with Rice and Ødegaard probably having their best games I've seen for them in the last month or so. There's not much up top in terms of opportunities. Trossard, one of his better games. Sterling, okay. But it was driven by those midfielders, the creators in there. Rice and Ødegaard progressing the ball forward. Lewis Skelly is the fullback pushing on as well. It's going to have to be a forward performance where non-forward players push on and overload those forward areas and forward spaces, and that's how Arsenal's going to have to try and win games of football while they wait for a striker to come into the football club. So Ødegaard and Rice are going to have to be massive yet again, progress the ball forward, keep Aston Villa pinned in, and get Arsenal's momentum going in the right direction. I don't think they can continue to rely on set pieces. They have to score some open play goals, and Ødegaard and Rice can make that happen with their passing rate, with their smarts with and without the football. Those two, for me, hold the keys for Arsenal. Looking at Villa, they come off the back of a 1-0 win versus Everton. Nothing fancy, but now 3 wins in a row for the side. They have lost 4 games prior to that away win in the Premier League. So it was a tough run leading into the last game. They got that win. Hopefully they end that run, they get back on track here. It is going to be a difficult game for them. They've not been at their sparkling best. We've seen moments from Rodgers and Watkins throughout the season, but it's going to have to be different type of contributors in this game here. I think the fullbacks have the opportunity to change the game for me. Luca Digne alongside Matty Cash, overlapping, can be numbers forward, stretching his Arsenal back line. It's been probably their strength throughout the last 20 months, but it has had some vulnerabilities in recent weeks, especially with a lot of injuries and the youngsters coming to the side. They could cause the difference. They could be the difference makers. Their work with and without the football, getting up and down that touchline there, stretching the Arsenal backline, creating overloads, could be the way you break down this Arsenal side because they're not invincible. They're not this rock-solid defence which we're used to, so that could be the key for me as well. And then obviously the ability to continue to feed the ball to Watkins and Rodgers. Those two are your sparks. Those two make things happen in the final third. And with limited chances, you want the ball into those type of players who can make something out of nothing. So that's Aston Villa's mindset. They'll go into it similar to how they did last season, sit in deep, absorb a lot of pressure, and try and hit Arsenal on the break. You know what? It might work with this Arsenal side that lacks a Bukayo Saka, that lacks an informed striker. With that being said, similar to the last game, I can't say it being too entertaining. I think it's going to be quite cagey for most periods. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I think Aston Villa come to this game looking for a draw. They'll get it, and they'll leave it quite happy from this one. We move back up north as Everton host Tottenham Hotspur. Everton, obviously, their first game in charge, with David Moyes back at the helm last time out. A tough loss to Aston Villa, but positives being there. More possession, more progressive play, looking like a more competitive unit. And I think it's been a rough little run they've had. Only 3 goals scored in the last 5 games, but goals will come back into their game. And I feel like players like Harrison and Dyer against a very weak and vulnerable Spurs backline, those wide players that want to have more of the football, will be the keys for them this game here. Drive forward, commit numbers forward, play with a bit more energy in your game. I want to get forward rather than play sideways, because this Spurs side is vulnerable. They will collapse under pressure. So the wide players, the fullbacks as well, push numbers on, commit numbers, risk trying to win the game. It might mean you lose it, but I think there's not real opportunity here for Everton at home to put pressure on the Spurs side. And I think it's that commitment to attack under David Moyes in this game here in particular that could turn their fortunes around here. So look, try and continue some of the work and the foundations laid in that last game versus Aston Villa to try and get a positive result here. Another thing as well, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Doucouré, Mangala, these type of players that are used to playing sideways and backwards, you've got to try and make sure they're passing the ball forward, committing numbers forward, because again, Spurs midfield lacks a lot of backbone, lacks a lot of work rate, lacks a lot of defensive IQ. So if you commit these numbers forward, if you progress the ball forward, there's a real opportunity to get this Spurs side. Look at Spurs, actually wasn't that bad of a performance, a 2-1 loss to Arsenal. But once again, it's just been a downward spiral in recent games. They've dropped well and truly down into the bottom half, below Manchester United now. It's 8 goals in the last 5 games for them, which is a side. Yes, it looks quite impressive, 8 goals in 5 games, but they're a side that normally scores 10 or 11 goals in their last 5 games. They average 2 goals a game in the Premier League. They're an attacking unit first, and with all the defensive injuries they've got, you can't be scoring just 1 goal in a game. They're not going to be able to keep clean sheets. So another massive game required from those attacking players. I think Bergvall once again held himself, in great delight in the last game. Was fantastic in the middle of the park there versus an in-form Arsenal midfield. He'll have to be pivotal yet again to match the intensity to lift this Spurs side. And then going forward, Kulusevski and Heung-min-son's chance creation is going to be massive to try and create opportunities for Dominic Solanke, try and create chances for themselves. Again, against a very, very solid Everton back four. You're not going to get many opportunities, but you're going to have to try and create them. And Kulusevski and Son are those types of players that can make those chances happen. 4 wins and 4 draws in the last 8 games for Spurs versus Everton. They've got the history on their side. I am going to back them in, but back them in just. I'm going with the Spurs 2-1 win away from home, just nicking it here at Goodison Park. We move to Old Trafford for our next game as United take on Brighton. United coming off a very disappointing 3-1 win, if that's even a thing, versus Southampton. Really, really bad for 80 minutes. Amad Diallo to the rescue in the end. But it's a sign of the times for Manchester United at this current point in time. It's pretty clear they struggle to play against teams that they need to take on the front foot. When they're not the underdogs, they really struggle with that sort of role in a game of football, progressing the ball, making the chances for themselves. And it's been seen. 6 goals in the last 5 games. If their defence isn't on it, they're really going to struggle. And I think in this one here, we're going to see that. It's going to be a back-and-forth type pinball affair. There's going to be goals at both ends, chances at both ends. I think in the end, it'll be a battle of who's more clinical in the final third for me. United did have a rough run of form. 3 losses in a row at home prior to that 3-1 win versus Southampton. They'll want to turn that run around. And again, it'll be on the back of Amad Diallo. It's pretty simple. He's been the guy for Manchester United across the last 4 to 5 months. Yet again, it'll be really, really important whether he plays as the right wing back, whether he plays as the right attacking midfielder, feeding the ball. He makes things happen. He's a progressive driver of the football. He gets his head up, he plays 1-2s, he makes smart runs with and without the football. So he's going to be the guy for Manchester United. And then equally as important will be the back three. Maguire will come back alongside Lisandro Martinez and Matthias de Ligt. They're going to be rock solid versus a very attacking Brighton side if United want any chance in this game here, because we saw last time versus Brighton, the return fixture, Brighton got the best of United in transition and exposing that back line there. Looking at Brighton, 2-0 win away from home at Leicester last time out. It's now 6 games unbeaten for the side. They're turning it around slowly but surely. 9 goals in the last 5 games. The identity has come back. Goal scoring, progressive football, a commitment to attacking football, and an improved involvement from the wide areas. Karim Matuma and Simon Adingra, I think, will be massive yet again, or Yankuba Minta. Whoever plays in those wide spaces will be important yet again. They were massive versus Ipswich Town in that 2-0 win last time out. It's going to be important yet again. They've got to dominate the wide spaces, and they've got to make that their area of the park they're going to dominate, because United, I've wondered in the wide areas, they commit those wing-backs forward. That space is there to run into, and if Matthias de Ligt or Lisandro Martinez is coming out to go and defend and close off a wide player, there's going to be spaces in behind for the likes of João Pedro, Matt O'Reilly's to get in the boxes, late runners, and to find the back of the net. Careful as well, I think it's going to be really important with the high line they play. They play a very, very aggressive high line. The likes of Alejandro Garnacho's, Amad Diallo's, Joshua Zirkzee will absolutely flourish with that sort of high line there as well. So it's a bit of a balance for Brighton to not commit 2 numbers forward and play too much of an aggressive high line here. For me, it's going to be just a battle, as I said, of who can score the most goals. I think there's going to be chances at both ends. Both teams can attack with enough pizzazz. It's about who can finish off their chances. I've gone with a 2-2 draw. So it's to be really, really entertaining, lacking defensive quality, but in the end, both teams come out of it with a point. Nottingham Forest and Southampton is our next game from the City Ground. Obviously, Forest coming off the back of that 1-1 draw versus Liverpool last time out. Another positive result for the side. They'll want to keep this good run going. 9 clean sheets, 4 unbeaten at home. But it's going to be a different type of performance required here versus Southampton. Southampton aren't the all-possession style side we're used to under Russell Martin, but a little bit more pragmatic under Ivan Juric. So it's going to be more of an importance for Nottingham Forest to drive the ball forward themselves and be the, I guess, aggressors in this game in terms of their possession and their attacking plays. So ball players will be really, really important in this game. Morgan Gibbs-White, alongside Elliot Anderson, I think, hold the key for this side here. They're the players that can play those passes through the lines, can break a game up, and can get Nottingham Forest continue to be on the front foot. Obviously, the side will want transitional play. They'll want counter-attacks, but they can't be, I guess, secured that style of football, especially with Southampton wanting to sit in a little bit deeper like we saw versus Manchester United, as they're a new style under Ivan Juric. Looking at Southampton, it was a 3-1 loss to United, but much more improvement in that game there. I think I can't see them having much of an important role to play in this game here. They're not really good enough defensively. They're not consistent enough over 90 minutes. But if they're going to cause any problems, it's going to be similar to the names. Tyler Dibbling, Sulemena up top again, the pace to get in behind. If Nottingham Forest commit a lot of numbers forward trying to play this possession style of football, potentially those quick players can get in behind. But I don't really see it happening. I just don't see the Saints being good enough defensively or going forward. I think Nottingham Forest get a workmanlike performance done here. I've gone with the Forest 2-0 win here at home to continue their great run of form. Our penultimate game sees Ipswich take on Manchester City. The Tractor Boys did go down last time out. A 2-0 loss to Brighton, ending a mini 3-game unbeaten run. But there has been positive signs in recent weeks. I've said it. There's 7 goals in the last 5 games. Goals have been coming up in the side's game. They're looking a bit more dangerous in the final third, and they want to be dangerous and clinical in this game here versus Man City. We know how teams have got at Man City on the break in transition. We saw what Brentford did last time out. You have to be good for 90 minutes, stay at it, and potentially you could have a way to come away with a point or a famous victory if you're Ipswich Town here. I feel like a player like Sam Morsey, a captain coming back into the side, could be a player to lift this side. His energy, his intensity in the middle of the park to try and rejuvenate the players, get the energy up, get that crowd behind the side. So look to Sam Morsey to be that real initiator to break the game up, be a physical presence in the middle of the park and get Ipswich going in the right direction in this game here. And equally so, Amari Hutchinson, he has moments of magic. He has moments he can change the game for his side. Look to him. He's a constant litmus test for this side. When he's playing well, Ipswich are often scoring goals and playing their best football. So he will once again be a pivotal figure for Ipswich Town, especially in transition, especially in that counter-attack, creating chances for like the Sammy Smodics and also, most importantly, the lap up top. Looking at City, threw away another lead. Once again, a 2-2 draw away to Brentford last time out. It's not been their season. However, they are unbeaten in the last 5 games. It's seen subtle improvements. We've seen moments in games that look much, much better. I think for me, I'll say it yet again, those 3 in behind the striker, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, Savinho. Get them on the ball. They're playing some great football at this current point in time. They're going to have to try and outscore the opposition. And they're lucky to go against Ipswich and not a real dangerous side on the front foot, because right now there's too many mistakes defensively. They're not as solid as they used to be last season at the back. Those 3 in behind Haaland are the ones that are going to make things happen in the final third. They're going to have to make things happen in terms of finding the back of the net. I think those should be the difference makers. Too much quality, too much skill, and far too much talent to lose against this Ipswich side. They'll be the players that get this team over the line. And important to be the early goal. Get the goal in the first half if you're Man City, and just grind out the result from then on in until you get these new players into the side and get that fresh, rejuvenated feel for the back end of the season. I see this game going one way. I see Man City winning it. They have to bounce back. They will bounce back. Got a City 2-0 win here away from home against Ipswich. Our final game is at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea host Wolves in what could be quite an intriguing game in many regards. Chelsea in a real rough run of form right now. A 2-2 draw, a save by Reece James late on against Bournemouth last time out. They've dropped now to 5th in the Premier League. No win in the last 5 Premier League games. It's all sort of falling apart. And the attacking football has been good and all, but defensively just not good enough for me. Palmer, once again, will have to be the catalyst alongside Enzo Fernandez, because Jackson, Sancho, Neto, Madueke, whoever you want up top, they haven't contributed enough for me. Right now, Enzo and Palmer, the only players really contributing in the final third. So once again, it's going to fall into those two to be the key catalyst yet again to drive this Chelsea side over the line, because they're an attacking side. They're not a defensive unit. They've been struggling for clean sheets. No clean sheets in the last 8 games. So they have to tidy up defensively if they want to try and find a way to get 3 points or even a point in this game here, because they come against a Wolves side who, yes, have lost 2 games in a row, back-to-back 3-0, but we're looking at Newcastle and Nottingham Forest, both the 2 informed teams in the Premier League. We know prior to that, they went on a mini good run of form with the new manager Pereira, and with Matheus Cunha probably likely to come back into the side. We know how good they can be in the counter-attack. I think Wolves have a real opportunity to get a point here on the road. They're going to be much more desperate defensively, nice and compact that back 3 there. Big games as well from the likes of Ait-Nouri and Semedo at wing-back to try and get at this Chelsea back line. Yes, I'm going to have to be important defensively, but if you can try and get forward, stretch this Chelsea back forward, that's very, very makeshift, very, very vulnerable at this current point in time. There's a real opportunity here for Wolves with Strand Larsen, Cunha on the break, and potentially even Gonzalo Guedes as well, to try and hold the ball up, send numbers forward, and nick a few goals. I think it is a real chance for them. If Bournemouth went to Chelsea and scored 2 goals without an out-and-out number 9, Wolves can definitely do it with the talent they've got up top. With that being said, I'm going to back in the draw. I'm going with a 2-2 score draw. I think Wolves have got the talent, they've got the ability to go to Chelsea and nick a famous point here. And for me, Chelsea just not good enough defensive at this current point in time. With that being said, ladies and gents, that brings this prediction video to an end for Match Week 22. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. What are some of your predictions for the Match Week? Who are some of your key players from each of the games? And what are you most looking forward to from the weekend's action? I love the interaction there, guys, so let me know that in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to smash a like on it, subscribe to the Player Zone channel, and press that post notification bell so you know we'll upload more videos here on the Player Zone channel. With that being said, I hope you have a great day, guys. Enjoy the more football action coming on the Premier League from the weekend, and I'll see you guys in the video very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.